If we have a general will, that is the Rousseau's perspective, that is the collective will. If we have that, we'll have a Leviathan. If we have people coming forward for a particular enforcement, then we'll have a Leviathan, obviously. Or do you see all these protocols being legally binding? I don't think so.
You made a good point that indeed is legally blinding now. Well, policies without real effectiveness is just a tiger without a...
The global north is just suppressing global south for its pure economic profit.
Hey everyone, today we have gathered here to discuss on a pressing global issue today, climate change. Is it an existential crisis or a governance failure? Do we need an iron fist like a Hobbes Leviathan, or will the general will of people dictate action? We are not just here to discuss on rising temperatures, melting glaciers or the like. Today we are here to discuss a jurisprudential view on this aspect. I, your moderator Anurima Biswas, I have with me Bhavya Praveen with me as a speaker who will continue the discussions. Bhavya. Now I have this question with me. In 2009, in COP15, Copenhagen Climate Summit, there was this deal where countries will invest $100 billion in dollars for climate reparations. Now the thing is, it is over a decade now, but we are not even close to achieving it. There are problems. Now, the thing is, there are Paris agreements. We have real ambitious projects, but we have not come even close to achieving it. So, are these laws just a smokescreen? What are your opinions on it?
Well, hi Anurima. This was a good initiative of you to ask me this particular question. Well, that's the paradox, isn't it? Well, the climate laws, Paris Agreement, Kyoto Protocol, what all? So now here's the question, are they really into it? Are they really enforceable? No, not really. Well, I have some data with me, that is Paris Agreement 2015, well, nations pledged to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, but commitments are voluntary. Well, the next is National Climate Framework. Well, countries like Germany and New Zealand laws have structured climate laws. Well, we have a lot of countries signing treaties, but the real question is the enforceable really weak? Yes, it is.
So again, climate change is becoming a global crisis. The problem is huge. Now, international agreements are voluntary. They don't have a legal binding power. Now, in this tune, if we talk, the need is for a global enforcer. Do we need a global enforcer at the center which will dictate laws, rules? Now, again, people don't like being told what they're supposed to do. What do you think about this? Do we need a global enforcer now?
Well, before I answer your question, let me come to another challenging news. Well, we have global north and we have global south. Well, let's see. As my fellow speaker pointed out, the 100 billion which was promised to the global south in the COP15, let me see. The post 2021 floods in Pakistan, if I'm not wrong, they had 33 million people displaced, and it was of a cost of almost 30 billion. But you know how much fund they received? Well, it was 10 billion. Now let's see Germany. Post-flood 2022, it was, they received 15 billion within weeks. Can we see global north and global south?
That is indeed a huge difference, Bhavya.
Exactly. So, looking at all of that, yes, we need a Leviathan. That is the jurisprudential perspective we can look into, the Leviathan.
Again now, climate law is just an illusion. Climate laws without this Leviathan concept is just an illusion of power. Now let's take a jurisprudential step back. The European Court on Human Rights, they have this viewpoint that climate change is now violating individual liberties. Climate change is now infringing on your individual liberties. This is the point they are taking now. Now, maybe if we go on this, Leviathan is inevitable. Now, how do you think if instead of Leviathan, we work on general will of Rousseau?
Well, I as a person, I have my own perspectives. Well, I might go for Leviathan, but why not general will? Why can't you interlink it? If we have a general will, that is the Rousseau's perspective, that is the collective will, if we have that, we'll have a Leviathan. If we have people coming forward for a particular enforcement, then we'll have a Leviathan, obviously.
You are right. Now, I have this point to make, which I should. It can turn a little controversial, but please bear with me. Now, the global north, and let's talk about the global south. Global north is infringing on global south now. Global north has used its fuel emission targets, is 75% responsible for everything, and 99% of the climate damages that the global north is causing is borne by the global south. They are the victims of all these climate changes. What do you want to say on this?
Well, global north and global south, we have a Kyoto protocol for that. But is it really enforceable? Or do you see all these protocols being legally binding? I don't think so.
You made a good point that indeed is legally blinding now.
So, well, when you talk about fossil fuel emissions, let's see, talking about the politician lobbying, which happens in most of the fossil fuel companies. Well, they say that they are also making policies. Right. Well, do you have any questions regarding that? They are making policies.
Well, policies without real effectiveness is just a tiger without its teeth.
Now, my question is to you, because you've been asking a lot of questions. Well, it's just for my individual knowledge. Well, to know that, don't you think the global north is just suppressing global south for its pure economic profit?
Of course. I have a really good point here now. The global north is not just infringing on global south. They are engineering it. It is not their negligence, like we did something we did not know, and it's a part negligence. That is there. But now they are not a part in negligence. They are engineering it. They are making it towards in their favor. They are doing everything in their favor. Now, if you see the loss and damage fund that they created and they made a deal that they'll invest $700 million. A mere $700 million, is that enough? Now they want to compensate, but is it really enough? The global south is indeed suffering.
True that. And now, when we talk about the global south, let's talk about the land grabs, right? Oh my God, talking about land grabs, it's just Africa getting suffered all the time. They're asked to preserve the forest in Congos.
But Sub-Saharan Africa is always...
Exactly. But what about the carbon emission caps that they are facing because of the global north?
Now that you mentioned that point about general will, how we can link general will with Leviathan, I want to make a few facts first before I ask you that. The European Union's Green Deal was an ambitious project. The Brazil deforestation that is happening hasn't stopped and is leading to climate change. US Inflation Reduction Act wanted to make a historic climate funding. Hasn't happened yet. Now, general will needs backing. Without backing, it is also blank promises, empty promises. Now, how do you want to link these two topics according to a jurisprudential view?
Well, talking about general will, Rousseau's perspective with Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan. Leviathan is a strong authority, right? But general will is the collective interest of the people. But when you look at the global south, I feel like it's not a Leviathan, it's a general will. People are protesting for a good statutory law or a very strong law which can be enforceable and can have stringent punishments. Let's see, Paris Agreement, for example, US It's a very good example, right? Okay, the dominant. Yes, US comes back to the Paris Agreement if they want, whenever they need a favor from the.
Always voluntary.
Exactly. So,
Yeah. You know, also this thing is, now the voluntary agreements sound like polite requests to the polluters. They are the polluters, we are the sufferers. Still, it looks like a polite request to them. Now, let's talk on climate criminals. Like we have criminals in, yeah.
have a very good.
Right.
Yeah.
So, let's call them climate criminals. Do you think we need an international global climate code that can work for these ecocide and climate criminals?
Yes, of course we need. Okay, let's talk about a couple of terrorists or a couple of prosecutors, anyone for that matter, coming and poisoning a water supply. They would be held liable. But what about deforestation in Amazon? It is ecocide, it is literally genocide.
Right.
Right? Yes, so they have to be prosecuted. And we should have a law which, criminalizes the same.
You know, actually, the International Criminal Court of Justice, their advisory body, they advised that actually the same thing, global climate code, so that we can actually penalize those non-compliant nations also, except for the climate criminals, those nations itself. So how do you think this will affect the sovereignty of a country, like a global enforcer and a state sovereignty?
Sovereignty is a question. Well, we can't go against, we can't hurt the sovereignty of a nation. Well, should that be the concern? Right?
Tell me.
No, it's not. It's not a concern. I mean, it should be, but we should have laws particularly regarding okay, leave all that. We have climate Leviathan, which is dominant in the global north,
Right.
which is disproportionately favoring the global north, which is leaving the global south without any, what do you say? It is leaving
Any
the global,
means for their
exactly,
right.
It's helpless. Global south is helpless.
Right.
So,
One more thing, since we are already talking on global north and south, global north has already had their fair share of development. They are the developed nations. They are developing. They need their fuel emission shares. They are not getting that. So these will always be there. Nice talking to you.